How's it going? You're the famous Wes.
You're the famous Leo George William Smith. You go by
Yeah,
all that at once, or how
yeah,
do you introduce yourself?
yeah. Well, everybody calls me Leo.
Leo. Okay.
Yeah.
I
We
will call
know,
you.
sorry,
I said that I'm going to call you Leo as well.
I would appreciate that because I get some names that are less desirable on Facebook.
Really?
Do you see me getting into trouble on Facebook groups? Are you active on Facebook
I,
groups?
I've seen a couple times where people kind of come at you a little sideways, but not really. Other than, but for most part, do I get on face? That's all I do actually is get on Facebook groups.
Okay. What's your favorite group?
Well, it used to be. Are you in roofing?
Well, I
You're,
own I own shares in a roofing company, painting company, renovations, basement renovations, even a bookkeeping company. I own shares in 19 different companies. So,
but you're more of like an investor and not necessarily a roofer. Well, there's a roofing group called Win the Game
oh,
or level the playing field. I'm sorry,
okay.
level the playing field, and that one used to be my favorite. But I guess like the host got all political and they just decided to just start removing people. So they kicked me out of that group, which is disappointing because that was a lot of value. Sorry, I got my 3-year-old has pink eye today, so she's here
Oh,
with me.
okay.
Hey, will you go watch your pet? Okay, that's not yours. Go put it back. Bye.
So, are you mainly in the roofing industry then?
Yes, yes, sir. I'm in the roofing industry and the claims industry. I guess you can be. I do more than just roofing. I also do like supplementing insurance claims and um, I do a little consulting. People who own roofing companies pay me to help them as well. So I'm getting into that space too. So I think that I'm gonna be in both of those spaces, the roofing restoration and as well as claim services,
Okay. Are you more on flat commercial roofing or residential?
shingle,
Shingle? Okay.
residential shingle,
Okay.
storm. I do mostly storm work. I mean, I
Okay.
think there's probably most roofers these days that aren't commercial.
Yeah. And you have that opportunity in US. We don't have too many storms in Canada. So that business typically does not exist in Canada. Um, we don't have hurricanes, we don't have hail damage, we don't, we may have the odd wind gust, but that's it. So we don't have that. So we have to design real businesses.
What does that mean?
It means that we have to create the opportunities. In your case, when you're a storm chaser, the weather is creating the opportunities for you, and you
I
just
think
chase storms.
I think there's a I'm not I wouldn't necessarily say storm chaser
Okay.
because that is something that is an industry within the roofing. I would say more of like a storm catcher. So I work the storms that come into my area. And if there isn't storms, then I don't go to other areas. So I
Okay.
stay in the area.
You stay put.
Yeah, I just I don't I would call it real because it, storm restoration works hard. Like dealing with insurance companies is challenging. These are billion-dollar companies with unlimited resources who are very good at keeping their money,
Mhm.
and limiting payout. So I would rather be like Canada. Like I would rather it be, retail, we sign a contract, I come out and I do the work, and then the next day you pay me. That's a much better business model than we're gonna
Then
work.
why don't you do both?
Well, I think that I'm going to. I think that I'm just learning, more so I have to learn how to change the way that I think, and learn how to sell better, sell better to tap into that market. It's just hard um without like having, the mentors in place and stuff like that. There's no example. I can't name an example of a roofing company, in my market that don't do storm work, that does strictly retail, that
Okay.
isn't commercial, so it's kind of like, but I want to, I've put a lot of thought into, creating my own roofing company because I work for someone now. So I want to go into business for myself, and I'm working on that. And that's what I'm considering is, hey, if I, when I create this company, at first it's going to be storm work because that's what I know. That's what
It's
I'm
the
good
lowest
at.
hanging fruit.
Right. I can get money coming in right away, get cash flow coming in from day one. But I do want to think long term, and create a business that's also can cater to that retail market because it is getting like the trend in the industry is going that way. Like the insurance companies are getting smarter. Roofing claims are the biggest, are what's mostly paid out on property insurance claims. So they're getting better at writing policies to limit how much they pay. And I can see that the way that the market trend's going is it's going to be, more policies aren't going to pay for full roofing replacements. They're going to pay for a portion of the roofing replacement, which means you got to sell the price, you got to sell the value. And so I want to get into that as well.
Okay. Okay. So you have a job right now. Are you running side roofing jobs or for yourself?
Yeah, I'm a subcontracted salesman, so I sell the roofs to a company and the company builds them, kind of, sort of. So I'm a 1099 independent contractor, but I work exclusively with a roofing company. I sell the roofs, I bring in the leads, sell the roofs, they build it, then I supplement it and collect it, which seems like I'm doing most of the work. And that's why I'm getting into roofing. That's why I'm like, you know what, I'm getting out of this
Right.
working for other people and I'm going into business for myself. It's just,
Right. So you're making other people rich right now.
I wouldn't say rich, but they're making more off my jobs than I am. That's for
Right.
sure.
Okay. Um, so you're creating the leads. How are you creating the leads? Are you doing a pay-per-click campaign? You have websites?
I
How?
don't, right now, and that's just, right now we're in a storm market. So there's been big storms this year in Kentucky and it's just working referrals, but generally speaking, when the leads aren't aplenty, I really do like door-to-door sales, because I think roofing's one of those industries where door-to-door works,
Yeah, you can
like
see the product from the street, right?
I can tell you who needs a roof just by looking at your house.
Right.
Accounting, you can't look and see who needs an accountant walking down the street, or even interior stuff. So it's,
Right.
but I have, I understand marketing. I understand marketing's a, long term, like you have to market, you have to invest in it, you have to invest in the social media. I don't want to ignore that space just because I don't know it. I'm just focused on, this year I plan on starting the company in August. This year it's just going to be me wearing every hat, and I'm going to stick to door to door because another reason I like door to door is because you can choose where your leads are, and if all your customers are in one neighborhood and you're the sales manager, the production manager, and the collections manager, it's a lot easier when you don't have to drive all around town versus marketing leads, as you don't control where they come in from. I mean, you can target market, but you target Louisville, Kentucky, my area.
Mhm.
but I know it's important. I'm not an expert at it by any means, relatively new to it, but I work with the marketing department now as well. So, I've seen how they, build blogs and, you said the pay for clicks and stuff like that as well.
Okay.
Where,
Um,
where are you at in Canada?
Toronto.
You're in Toronto? Okay.
Yeah. So what stage are you at? Have you done some branding marketing for your company? Do you have a company name? Do you have a website? Have you done any organic marketing?
I've done I've looked at some names, and I haven't picked a name yet because I have some questions for the lawyer, as far as like, if there's another company with a similar name or whatnot and stuff like that. But I've got some concept ideas. I've already worked on and the processes, how I'm gonna generate sales, how I'm gonna build the roofs, how I'm gonna collect on the accounts, how I'm gonna manage the custom, all the business planning stuff. I've been working on, getting that stuff together. I know that my plan is to kind of create it like a franchise type business. Robert Gerber.
The name sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
He's a business coach slash consultant.
Okay.
And he wrote a book called The E-Myth.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so I read that book and I like that idea. If you create it in the franchise mode, turnkey operation, how it just makes stuff easier, and it increases your likelihood of success, versus just kind of winging it, so I know that. I know I'm gonna have my plan is to finish selling the jobs that I have now with this company, and then at the end of June, I'm gonna stop, or I'm already kind of like winging off, taking on leads now, and then
Yeah.
taking July off, and then come August 1st, full speed with the new company. And
Yeah.
try to keep, I don't want to lose the relationship I have with the company I work for now, because like I said, I got two businesses that I'm working on simultaneously. The other business is the claim services. So, and I'm already getting leads from that. So basically, if you own a roofing company and, you need help with your supplementing, like you can pay me to write your supplements for you. And I'm really good at it. Like I know what to do in those regards. So people are already paying me to write their supplements. I've got contractors who don't climb roofs. Don't ask me how they're roofers, but they pay me to go out and inspect their roofs for them. So I'm working on that as well. You know, that business as well. So I don't want to lose the relationship I have with my current company, because I'm going to try to have business with them in the future, if possible. I don't know how. I know I've been in this industry for 7 years, and it's an extreme high turnover rate. And most of the time, when people separate, it's ugly. And so I want to be different and try to
Smart
keep the
move. Yeah.
yeah try to keep the relationship intact, as best I can.
Okay. Um, I I generally have between 60 and 80 conversations per day on Facebook, Zoom, and emails and phone calls and so on.
And
Um,
kudos to you for your persistency. I really like that about you.
okay.
You-
Well, I enjoy doing it. I don't consider it work. So before we get too deep into this conversation, what are you trying to get out of this conversation or accomplish with this conversation so we don't get sidetracked?
Well, I think that getting to know who you are and what your businesses are and what you offer would probably be, important.
Okay.
as well. I mean, I don't necessarily look to get anything out of this conversation other than, an introduction, kind of figure out what it is that you do. I mean, I've seen your messages before. I've read some of your stuff. So I'm guessing, are you a consulting? Is that something that you do, or?
Management consultant, yes. But I'm more, yeah, let's leave the conversation there. I enjoy talking businesses, and if I can help people in any way, even guide them in the right direction, then that's what I like to do. A lot of my clients for the management consulting side, when I had a LinkedIn
Leah,
profile,
please.
I was finding that um, people were becoming clients after 5 years of conversations. 5 years, and I thought, geez, that's a long learning curve. I got to fix that, but that's what it is, and I have not been able to change it. Every once in a while, yeah, I have a conversation with a client that says, yeah, can we do this? Can we start tomorrow? But that's kind of rare. Most conversations or most relationships take about 5 years to mature before they act. Um, may I share a case study with you?
Mhm.
I think that would help you understand what it is that we do. One of the companies that is now a partner of mine, but he wasn't at that point. And when I met him, he had been in the roofing industry for 24 years. And he actually flew in with his wife to have lunch with me, myself and my girlfriend. And within 10 minutes, I could clearly see the burnout in the way he talked about his business, in the way he acted, the way he talked about his employees. I saw a severe burnout. And within about 15 minutes, I said, we gotta,
Leah, please, please.
we gotta redesign your business, take it to the next level, and we need to sell this company, right? Um, and he says, why would I want to sell my cash cow? And I said, well, I can clearly see you're not happy. The way you describe your business, you're not happy. Um, and she's cute. Uh, Hi, what's your name?
Yeah.
Sorry, what's
Leah,
your
Leah,
Leah? Hi, Leah.
Hi.
Leah, that's Leo. Your names are close.
Very close. Actually,
You say Leo?
Hi.
hi.
Leah. It's Leah.
Will you please go play on your pad pad? Go wipe your face, okay, and go wash your hands.
So, and that relationship took almost 4 years before he said, yeah, let's do something. And now he's a partner. But for 24 years, his complaint was he could never find quality people. He had his core people that were always around. They lasted 2 or 3 years, then they would leave. Another core person would come in, but most of the people he would hire would stay for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then they're gone again, right? Because even though he thought he was a great leader, he was horrible with his people. He treated them like shit, right? And I'm sure you see that all the time. So, so we started the process of selling his business, and because he
Oh, go play. I'm sorry, Leo.
no problem, because he built a glass ceiling and he could only reach $2 million, and he hit the $2 million glass ceiling. One year he went to 2.2, then back down to 2 million, right? Then 1.8. So his business was all over the place. And every second or third year, he was refinancing his house to fund the company
Yep.
again, right?
Put it on the couch. Don't get up till I tell you to, okay? Here we go.
And his wife, the reason why the wife came along on that trip was because she was tired of refinancing the house. And they had, great kids and dogs and so on. They had a beautiful house, but it kept getting refinanced, and they would, feast and famine crap. And he was convinced that he needed to change that. So we started working with him, and I said, as soon as we get this company to $3 million, we're going to sell it. Now the company is doing $5 million, and he doesn't want to sell because it's a different company. Now the company works for him instead of him working for the company. But it's taken, 26 years to get it to that level. The second example that I want to give you is was a young guy who was a project manager for a roofing company. And one of my assistants was having a conversation through my profile and communicating with him, asking him, well, why are you a project manager? With your experience, you should be running your own company. Then he says, well, I don't have the capital. Okay. So anyways, we helped him design the business, and we said, as soon as your salary doubles, you'll jump over full time. Okay. That guy is at 27 million. The first one was at 2 million for the first 24 years. The third example was basically the same as the second example. He was a project manager slash salesperson for a company, again, in the asphalt shingle industry. And again, the same thing, once he doubles his salary, he jumped over full time. His company's at $65 million.
So let me ask you a question, because it just brings up something that I think about Robert Gerber. The whole E myth is, hey, you're good at your job, you should go open up a business. And it's like, just because you're a good project manager doesn't mean that you're a good business owner. And you have to learn how to separate the two, because it's totally different from working in your business versus working on your business. Do you agree with that? Or
Absolutely. Just before, 10 seconds before you joined this call, I was on a Zoom call with an electrician, and he kept emphasizing he has to keep his electrical license, even though we were talking about starting a bookkeeping business for him, right? So he's a firm believer that he has to have a plan B, and that, a business is the product, and he doesn't see that having an electrical license is actually a hindrance if he's going to start an electrical business. He doesn't see that.
why is it a hindrance?
Because as soon as you become just like engineers, when you put an engineer or even a bookkeeper or an accountant as a head of the company, they start vomiting all this information onto the clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what a client needs. The client wants to problem solve, not, overloaded with information, then they get into analysis paralysis. When you know too much about something, you oversell and you walk past the sale. Okay.
I think of like the ancient philosopher Socrates. You've heard of Socrates. Everybody's heard of Socrates. That's what he used to tell people, that the greatest thing he ever learned, or the best wisdom he ever learned, is that he don't know nothing. That's the attitude that you, when you have that attitude, you open yourself up to learn.
You're right.
But if you know everything, or you can't learn nothing.
Right. So in your shoes, because of your roofing experience, we got to make sure that that doesn't become a hindrance for you, because that's something we would design on the business blueprint. A business leader needs leadership skills, not roofing skills, not technical skills. Those are your people skills, right? That's your crew chief, project manager, and even salespeople. I don't want them to have too much knowledge, because now they're going to start vomiting all over the client, right?
I agree with you.
Salespeople, the reason why I call salespeople rainmakers is because they're good at building relationships. If they have a technical question, let me get the technical guy on the phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or let me get back to you on that. Even if he knows the answer, you should not deliver it, right? Because his job is to play golf with the right people. That's it, right? That's how you build 2 million or 10 million or $20 million company.
I agree. I was talking to my brother yesterday who works for a company. Basically, he was like, which I need to tell the sales reps to slow down. And I'm like, if you was in my company and you did that, I'd punch you in your throat. And he was like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, that's not a problem you take to salespeople. I don't want my salespeople dealing with production issues. If
Right,
you've got a production issue, you bring it to me and I'll deal with the salespeople.
right.
Like, but no, production, I don't think that production should even talk to sales. I think that
Exactly,
you
exactly.
have a chain of command that you utilize, and if production has a problem with sales or vice versa, you go to your managers and you let your managers figure it out.
And yet a lot of roofing companies have salespeople get on the roof to actually install the roof. I'm thinking, well,
Mine's terrible. The company I work for, it's absolutely garbage how they treat their salespeople. You
really?
know, and it's when I analyze it, I look at the owner of the company. You know, his background is production. You know, he started off on the roof laying shingles, and now,
Right.
you know, I've as a 1099, you know, I'm not supposed to do a lot of things that I've done, but I've hired and trained people, and then when they're supposed to be out in the field working, you know, I call them and I'm checking in on them like a manager is supposed to do, and they're running product. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know, that's the problem. It's like you're the owner. So if you come up to my people and say, hey, I need a favor, I need somebody to run this material, they're going to do what you ask them to do. But, you know, well, how am I supposed to hold them accountable, you know, when they're working for you? And it's just that attitude of we all pitch in together, and it's wrong. I disagree with it 100%. It's like, no, especially when you have cash flow issues. It's like you got cash flow issues and you got your salespeople delivering materials.
Yeah.
It seems like a wise choice.
Yeah.
But
In an emergency, yes, but on a daily basis, absolutely not.
Mhm. Well, and
Absolutely not.
you got this office full of people, you know, make them run the materials. Like if you need it that bad, you know, there's
Or get the supplier to deliver.
Mhm.
Most suppliers deliver, or there are courier companies that will pick up and deliver. Why are we wasting talent that should be producing profit to be on the truck delivering something where they're producing no profit? It makes no sense, right?
Yep.
There are companies that deliver. So I don't care if it's a box of screws or a box of nails or one shingle. Get to the courier company because somebody miscalculated, right? If you're short a shingle,
Yep.
so
Yeah, but it's just that attitude, you know, that it's just not. I've been with the company for 4 years, and
how
so
big
it's
is the
like
company?
we got 20 employees. They do 3 to 5 million a year.
Okay.
For that many employees, it's not good. But yeah, and that's I've tried to change, and I've accepted that I just don't have the skills. It's like I'm not going to be able to influence the culture, you know, and create the changes that I would like to see. And that's why I said, you know what, it's time, you know. And thanks to you, by the way, Leo, because some of your questioning has changed the way that I think, and I appreciate that.
Okay, great to
Um,
hear.
yeah, it's you ask some good questions. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're hard. Sometimes they're hard to think about, but in that life, like if it's hard, it's usually a sign that it's good.
Right. And this is where people get upset. And this is where I get into trouble because I'm asking the wrong questions. And people don't want to answer these questions. They want to stay in their comfort zone. The devil they know is better than the devil they don't know,
Mhm.
right? They don't want to be uncomfortable. They don't, and how dare you ask that question? And that's how I get into trouble. So, but how can you change your life unless we're challenging our mindset? I mean, every month, and every Friday, I have to stand in front of my advisors and explain what's going on in my business, right? So And, business owners are not accountable to anyone, not even the bank manager, right? If we're not accountable to anyone, we don't have to produce anything. And that's really bad. And I believe that's the reason why it takes a general contractor, Google statistics. Google says the average contractor takes 20 to 40 years to get to $20 million. 20 to 40 years. The average painting company takes 5 to 20 years to get to $800,000.
So that's a good question, is how do you create the habit, of holding yourself accountable? Because I struggle with that.
Well, yeah, good question. Join CEO clubs, join mastermind groups, create a group in your area to hold each other accountable, right? That costs you nothing, right? But there are formal CEO clubs. As an example, I remember a conversation with a custom home builder. My ideal clients are custom home builders, and he was very successful. So we had a conversation, and he was telling me about this great club he belonged to, and he was a member for 6 years, a CEO club. And this is the type of club where you fly to each other's states, and he was he was telling me about it, and he was very proud, and you could tell he was very happy about it. And I asked the wrong question. I asked, if I were to look at your financials, could I see the hockey stick curve from the day you started that club? I go, what? What do you mean? Well, if you're happy, I'm assuming you're measuring results, right? Aren't you measuring results? Yeah, but how can you measure results from that? Well, I should be able to see on your financials, a month after, 3 months after, there should be a hockey stick curve, right? Should be a change in your financials based on the advice or whatever you're getting from this club. Yeah, but Leo, you got to understand, these are a great bunch of people. We have some great conversations. We have a lot of joking around, and I'm thinking, are you buying friends, or are you actually getting something from this club? Because he was paying between $50,000 and $60,000 a year. Because when someone flies in, now you're hosting these people, right? Sometimes 8 to 12 people. And then you're flying to somebody else and having face-to-face and online networking events. So at the end of the year, he was paying between 50 and 60,000. And I said, if I'm going to invest 50 or 60,000 in towards marketing, I want to see a return. Why are we not expecting a return just because it's from a CEO club, right? So, but you can easily start one on your own, and please get people from different industries. The worst thing you can do, actually, the first example, the roofing company that struggled to go above $2 million, was getting together, once a month with all his roofing buddies, his competitors. And I say, okay, what happens in these? And they would complain about this supplier, this employee. They would say, don't ever hire this guy. He's a shyster, he's a drunk, whatever. And they would complain about the economy. They would complain about different things. And I said, well, is that just a bitching session once a month, or what is that? How are you learning? Again, show me the hockey stick curve, right? And they just get together to compare prices and who's undercutting whom and shit like that. But they're really not accomplishing anything, because like-minded people produce like-minded results. So you want to get together with people who are way ahead of you in different industries, because some industries are better at certain things than other industries. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I'm in a networking group now. And I think that the group's failing, so it's kind of, and I don't, because it's my first one, I don't know if it's because the people, or is it just because the changes since 21, where they because it was in person. You heard of BNI?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a BNI group. So, and I joined in 21 when COVID happened, and it was all on Zoom. And so in 22, it went back into person, and just slowly our numbers have just been going down and down and down and down. And I don't know if it's something that I want to keep for my business. I think so, but I don't know, like measuring it based off of revenue wouldn't be what I would want to, why that would keep me in it. It would be more so connections, being able to have connections for things like shirts or flyers or door signs or insurance or, yeah, I'm sure I would measure the business, but that to me is the appeal. It's $2,000 a year. It's not 60,000 a year. So I think so I'm still weighing the pros and cons of it.
How many members altogether?
Right now there's 9, but there used to be 25. That's what I'm saying. So
Okay.
slowly we've gone down.
Okay.
And
How many
I think
people regularly show up?
100%, the attendance is great for all the
Okay.
members of the group. Attendance is great. The numbers for the group that we have isn't bad. It's not terrible. It's just like we haven't been able to grow. Like we can't, for some reason, we can't convince people to want to join the group. And it's not just our chapter either. It is kind of chapter wide. And I haven't been in sales long enough really I've been in sales 7 years. So, the last year or two is probably the first, I don't want to say depression, or I mean, what is it? Correction, the first correction that I've seen since we've been in it. So what I'm thinking is that business has just been real good. So people don't need these networking groups, but once the economy gets a little tighter, it might start picking back up, because I know a lot of these networking groups were created because of that. They were created in bad economies where people were trying to figure out creative ways to get business.
Right. But going back to BNI, I've studied the BNI concept. We tried to improve on the BNI concept. Before COVID, we used to do networking events at interior design showrooms, and we would have about 200 people show up, at between 180 and 200 people. But it was a lot of work to get 200 people showing up. I'm sure you can imagine, right? But what attracted them was the fact that we were doing LinkedIn and Facebook Live from the event. So people could, do some networking, but also do some promoting themselves on LinkedIn Live, so give them an audience. So our differentiation was the LinkedIn Live events, right? And that's why 200 people would show up. So, but still, it was still, very expensive and very time consuming to entertain 200 people, right? The other thing that I want to touch on is you mentioned door knocking campaigns. For the roofing company, we designed a door knocking campaign, and our record right now that still stands, I believe, is 37 signed contracts from one street. Average $16,000 per contract. So to me, that is a successful door knocking campaign. Okay, but that's not a bunch of people just going around knocking on doors. I think those are not successful. What we did was we would schedule a high profile job to start on the Friday and finish on a Saturday. We would set up a barbecue on the sidewalk on Saturday morning, and we would have pretty girls going around with gift bags, giveaway gift bags, knocking on doors and saying, hey, here's a free gift bag for you. And by the way, come and have a free hot dog, free hamburger on us just down the street. And that's how we were able to do that, right? But the people that didn't show up, we would still get leads. People that didn't show up for the barbecue. I mean, we had stainless steel water bottles. We had gift certificates from local restaurants. We had cosmetic samples. We had it was a gift bag that was full. So we needed a truck, and next time we talk, I'll show you the truck we designed for that. And that's how we were able to create 37 signed contracts, right? So if you want to design a $3 million, $5 million roofing company, we've done that over 1,000 times. We've designed, over 1,000 companies that went over the $20 million mark in our 40-year career. So, and there are some strategies that are better than other strategies. Any questions?
No. Yeah, I mean, no. So what do you think about, like, what's some good roofing company names that you've heard of?
Oh, we have. I bought my first house when I was 17. I had to renovate it to create the construction business, or that's how the construction business started. Then 87, 88, 89, we were flipping about 12 houses a month. Then we went into commercial flipping. And to give you an example, on one property, I made $850,000 in 3 weeks. And yet I still find that digital real estate is more profitable than brick and mortar real estate. So websites are more profitable. When you look at Facebook's IPO at $1 billion, it proved to me we were going in the right direction. Okay, so we have over 10,000 names that we've pre-registered.
I liked one, the best roofing, and that domain was actually available. Somebody already bought it, but it's available for purchase. I was like, man, but there's another company in Kentucky that has the same name. They're a subcontractor, meaning they're like the crew, but they still have it as an LLC and they still have it registered. So I don't think that would work.
Okay.
But I love that website because it just looked aesthetically easy. Thebestroofing.com. Like it's easy to read. It looks good. But
It's okay. I wouldn't say it would be my first choice.
and so I've kind of moved off of that. And like I said, I'm looking at maybe gearing it more towards a franchise type.
Yeah. I think there's room in the market for a great roofing franchise.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, I have a military background, and so I wanted to kind of highlight that, and so I really like Patriot Roofing, and then kind of make it like a Patriot theme, red, white, and blue.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like
Why?
that because it's about you. It's not about your client.
Well, I feel like I'm a patriot.
Again, the way you described it, who did you describe? Your client or you?
Well, what do you mean? My client? So what are some good names? What's some names that stood out to you over the years with your thousands of companies?
Wow, One Day Roofing.
Wow, One Day Roofing. How do they spell that? Like WOW exclamation mark?
No, just
Wow.
wow, the number one day, DAY roofing.com.
Wow, One Day Roofing.com.
Okay, so what does that say? Wow. And by the way, Wow One Day Painting is a $100 million company. CertaPro is $800 million company, right? Why? And yet all their competitors take 5 to 20 years to get to $800,000, according to Google. Okay. What's the difference? Systems, procedures, and a great name, right? Wow is a promise that you're making to your future potential clients, right? They see their branding or marketing and they say, oh, okay. And it works subconsciously. We need to have a branding conversation because the science behind branding, I'm sure you know, maybe you're too young, but in the 80s, they used to use subliminal messaging. Subliminal messaging is, let's say you're sitting in the theater between coming attractions, the word popcorn appears on the court for 1/100th of a second. Your conscious brain never sees it, but your subconscious reads it, right? And this is where the science behind branding comes in. And popcorn sales would jump up 30%. And the government saw this as being illegal. And of course, because it's too effective, right? Because when you all of a sudden people stand up and go buy popcorn, why? Subliminal messaging. Subliminal messaging is the science behind branding, and this is what we use to create branding, to create $100 million company. Okay.
Mhm. And so how would you tie that in the roofing? Like you're trying to subliminally.
Well, I don't want to give away too many trade secrets here because I'm in the roofing business myself. But you create a promise. You know how some people say that sounds right or that doesn't sound right? They can't put their finger on it, but yet they feel a certain way, either positively or negatively. That's subliminal messaging in work, either by design or by accident, right? Creating, but once you know what works and what doesn't work, and you create that in your branding differentiation and your business blueprint and everything else, now you're creating relationships with people who say, that sounds right. I want to do business with that people, and yet they haven't talked to anyone yet. Okay, that's how you create $100 million company.
So what's a good exercise to, kind of dive deep and figure out the name? What kind of, if I wanted to create a good name that I like, that I'm happy with.
See,
that
okay, so
women
you
like.
already made a mistake. You already made a mistake. What did you
That's
just
what I
say?
like.
Yeah. Who cares what you like? Who cares what I like? It doesn't matter what you and I like. I might like yellow, but yellow might test to be a horrible branding color, which it is, right?
So do
It
you
doesn't
recommend?
matter. It doesn't matter what you like. It only matters what the future potential clients will pay for.
Right, and I certainly understand that, and I mean, for all I care, we can call it dog shit roofing.
Okay.
I but so if you don't have a branding background and you don't know these type of things, what's a way to figure that out? Or is it something that maybe you should, I mean, I don't want to wait any more than I have to, so, but do I need to hire a branding expert? I mean, if it's that important, if we're talking the difference between a $10 million company and a $100 million company.
It's all branding and systems. Absolutely. You hire people like us.
Well, I know the system stuff. I can do the systems all day. I know the procedures. I know the day-to-day operations. I know all that, but it's the branding stuff that I don't know. But I know that I want to get into the business of building businesses. So, it's something that, I should probably invest some time into at least learning about it. So I don't, one, get ripped off by branding people, and two, have a basic understanding. Do you got any resources that you can recommend to learn more about branding?
I mean, there are countless branding books, but in my opinion, I always brag about the top books that I love. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss is a book you should read, but it has nothing to
Read
do
it.
with branding.
I've read it.
You've read it? Okay. How many times have you read it?
I've read it once.
Yeah, you haven't read it because I've read it 12 times and I still haven't read it.
Well, I haven't. It's on my rotation list of books,
Right.
but I haven't read it.
And there's the problem. You just hit the
Well-
nail on the head. Lots of people read. Then I ask a question, how have you applied the knowledge you just read to your business? And people, what?
Well, I apply knowledge from that book to my business.
Okay.
All my numbers in odd numbers, all my prices in odd numbers. So, you know, and I love it's kind of the Socrates method, but you know, Chris Voss talks a lot about it. You know, can you take $100 off? Well, how am I supposed to do that? You know, if I've got my
I
pricing,
love that. I love that.
I've got my pricings figured out, so it's perfect for my customers, but it allows me just enough to provide for my family. So how am I supposed to, you know what I mean? So you're right. You know, there's reading and there's deep diving, but I would challenge one thing. You say most people read, and I don't know about that. Maybe in
Well,
Canada.
when they read, they never apply.
Well, most people in America don't read after
Don't
high.
read. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But I was referring to the people who do read and don't apply. So knowing and not applying is not knowing.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
sure. I also like the even applying the stuff. You know, like I said, I can name you things I apply from that book, but I know that you're also right. You know, if I read it again, I'll take something new away that I'll apply. And every time I read it, I'll take something new until I don't, and then probably stop reading it.
Right.
But that's good. So never split the difference. What's some other books you like?
I'll send you the continuous learning library. It's a collection of all my favorite books that I tell my clients to read. So I'll send you the link. But a lot of books, I mean, you're lucky. I've been writing 6 books now forever, and I find that, you know, books is 1 or 2 messages that can be stated in 1 paragraph. Then you put in all this jargon to sell a book, right? And that's why I get so frustrated reading these books, because, you know, the gold nuggets can be said in 1 paragraph. Then they used 50 different examples to explain the 1 paragraph, right? But you know, some people, and sometimes I read, you know, Never Split the Difference by, you know, 12 times already, and I still haven't really captured the full depth of all the different messages available in that book. So I understand, and a lot of times we apply something to our business, then we forget about it. And, oh crap, yeah, that was supposed to be part of my policy and procedure manual, right? Then we forget again. So we have to keep relearning, forgetting, relearning all this different stuff. And this is why I'm a firm believer in designing a business blueprint to eliminate future potential problems, right? I can help you become a $5 million roofing company probably 5 or 10 years faster than you can on your own. We could even be partners in a roofing company. I would love to be partners in a roofing franchise, you know, and create a $100 million company. Or I can help you and you pay me nothing by introducing me to the roofing company you just talked about, or other companies in your BNI networking group. I mean, there's a lot of ways we can help each other. And I can help you to be successful and certainly get to $1 million a lot faster than you can on your own.
Well, I'm my goal is to get $3 to $5 million next year. And I mean, I've done it before, so I know it's possible. I haven't done it for myself, but I've done it for other roofing companies. So I know that.
Can I tell you a quick story where we are way over time, but I want to tell you a quick story. Is that okay?
Sure, yeah.
This happened a number of years ago. Someone calls me out of the blue, didn't schedule a call, just calls me out of the blue and said, you know, so-and-so asked me to give you a call. And Leo, I know what you're going to tell me. You know, I I know I made some mistakes and I hired the wrong crew chief, and the $1 million that I raised to start my company, he just lied to me and he hired the wrong people, and I'm down to my last $50,000. But what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to raise $2 million because $1 million was not enough, and I'm thinking, holy crap, he didn't even let me getting the word edgewise. He was just yelling at me, right? So after an hour conversation, hour and a half conversation, he hangs up, and I called the person who referred him to me. I said, who is this person, right? Oh, yeah. He's very ambitious and so on. So anyways, about 6 months later, he calls me again and says, Leo, I made him, I realized that I made a mistake. And again, he's yelling at me and saying, I hired $1 million and I hired the wrong crew chief. The second round of raising capital, I'm trying to remember the steps here. I raised $1 million, then I raised 2 million. The problem was that I didn't have the right people, and he was always blaming someone else. I should have raised $3 million. So next time when I go out there, I'm going to raise $3 million instead of raising one, then raising two, and the money evaporates in the company. I should have raised $3 million out of the gate. And I know what you're going to tell me, so I don't need to hear it. And he's off again. And, I did manage to explain, before, I can't advise you. First, we need to understand what's going on. And by the way, the construction industry is the most profitable industry. Your business should be designed to make money on project one and use that money to grow, right? You don't use outside money in the construction industry. I mean, that's ridiculous. How are you spending this money? I don't understand. Leo, I understand, and he's off, right? I gave the guy a call who referred him to me, and I said, well, how's that company doing? Oh, he's bankrupt. On the first call, he told me, Leo, don't tell me about managing people. I know how to manage people. I work for a major construction company. If I mentioned the name, you would know it. I have 1,500 people to report to me. I know how to manage people. Don't give me that crap, right? Just because you know how to manage people in structure, it doesn't mean that you know how to create the structure.
That's a
right.
good point.
He made that mistake, right? And he went through so much money. And on the last call, I said, I could use you if you have the capacity, you have the skill to raise this kind of money.
Yeah.
That is a skill in itself, and you are in the wrong business. But he went bankrupt, even with a skill of managing 1,500 employees. So
Not all the time experience translates. Is that what the message is?
Don't assume because you're successful, working for your company, you can create that structure. Because when you have a job, you're protected in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. Going out into the cold, lonely world on your own, wearing all those hats, that is a different scenario altogether. Keep in mind, 96% of companies go bankrupt with PhDs, business degrees, and you name it, and with a lot of family money, and they still go bankrupt. So it's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I got you. I just thinking of, like I said, I've kind of put together the plan. I haven't like ironed it down to the T, but like my goal this year is to just focus on selling and knocking them out, as much as I can handle. And then next year, scaling it, hiring the positions that I have to have in place, for me to do that $3 to $5 million that I want to do. And also, like you said, creating the structures and stuff, having that's important.
Whenever we get someone who says, I want to start a business someday, we still get them to pick a date, usually 5 years from today. because now we only have 5 years to do the business blueprint, organic marketing, and all the things you need to do. And 5 years goes by really quickly. Now you are talking about starting a business in August, not August 5 years from today. You're talking about August a few days from today. And that doesn't leave you a lot of time to do organic marketing, business blueprint, differentiation and everything else. That is almost the equivalent of, what everybody else does. They're trying to fly an airplane and build the airplane at the same time. That is a hell of a lot more difficult than building and designing an airplane on the ground.
I think I agree with you. I just would like to highlight that a lot of the structure that's in place at the company that I work for now, is because of me. So it's not like I'm starting to build that from scratch. I've already got a sales process. My process that I use that's worked for me tremendously. I've already got how I'm going to do the production. I wrote it for the company that I work for. The stuff that I have to figure out, the marketing, the organic marketing, that stuff is important. But I know that come August, my marketing can be door to door, referrals.
But isn't that putting all your eggs in one basket? Marketing should be 10 things that you're doing.
Right. But I feel like
door to door is number 5.
Waiting to have all that stuff in place prior. It isn't an option that I've even considered.
I understand.
Because
which means you're under the gun, which means you better act, because companies that see, most people use pay-per-click and put all their eggs in one basket, the pay-per-click campaign. You're doing something different by putting all your eggs in a door knocking basket. I'm not sure one is better than the other.
Right. The difference is I know the door knocking. I don't know the pay-per-click. So, starting off day one, do I want to, focus on baskets, that going to take a little more time to deliver the results? And the answer is yes. Like I'm committed to learning, the marketing. I know that that's important. It has to be done. I'm just, when I start putting together, my marketing plan, it's starting off, it's just what's going to be able to get me paid right away. And not only paid right away, like I said, the benefits to canvassing or door knocking is all of my eggs are in one area. So it's going to be able to, I'm going to be more efficient at the other stuff. But I 100% agree.
But in terms of pay-per-click, you can choose postal codes, right? So all the work is in one postal code. As an example.
I don't know nothing about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so you can pinpoint. So even though you're doing door knocking campaign, you're not going to get every door. You're still going to get 10 jobs in one postal code. That's the same thing as pay-per-click.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I agree that having as many lead sources as possible is the best.
Yeah, and your marketing should have at least 10. Like I said, door knocking is number 5. Pay-per-click is number 10. Okay. We're not talking about 1, 2, and 3, and 4 yet. Right?
Yeah.
Number 1 is stepping stone relationships. Right.
That's your family, friends.
No. You never do business with family and friends.
What do you mean stepping stone relationships?
Okay, stepping stone relationships. Going back to the painting company, he only does business with real estate agents. So his stepping stone relationships are the real estate agents. He steps on the real estate agents to get to the homeowners. So stepping stone relationships. So he only has relationships with 30 or 40 real estate agents, which is better than having relationships with 20,000 or 50,000 homeowners. Because that's how many they know, because each real estate agent knows between 1,000 and 5,000 homeowners, right? So if you want to call it a shortcut, And he does $5 million just with real estate agents. Those are called stepping stone relationships.
So for me, it would probably be insurance agents.
Insurance agents, but now you're dealing with cash flow issues, right? I think there's got to be a balance between cash jobs and jobs that you're waiting for, or
Oh, yeah.
commercial and residential to maintain your cash flow. So there has to be the right ratio there as well. But what I would suggest is, think about how we can help each other, because a well-designed business blueprint will give you a tremendous advantage over your competition.
I'm
Tremendous
currently
advantage.
reading this. I don't know if you have any other books that you recommend, but this one seems pretty solid so far. So creating a business plan for dummies.
Yeah.
I don't have an MBA. So I don't
Well,
have,
I don't have an MBA either. What I do have is 40 years of proven what works and what doesn't work.
and so you can help me. What I have to figure out, is how do I help you? Like you said, introductions to people who I work with or that I do business with. Maybe you can help me with how do I make that introduction? What do I listen for where I can plug you in and not be forced, you know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, so anything business related, any struggles with businesses, clearly is hey, I know a guy who does a free consulting. Can I send you the link to his calendar? If I send you the link to the calendar,
Yeah, no. Your first part was right. The second part wasn't. The same way we talked about our favorite books is the same way. Someone says, you're a BNI group and someone says, well, I'm having a hard time finding profitable clients. Then you use yourself as an example. Well, I'm trying to start a roofing company and I was recommended I talk to this guy and this guy is helping me solve this problem for me, right?
Okay.
Then
testimonials.
Yeah. That's it.
Well,
But go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I'm working on my business plan now. Just ironing out the processes. I've done a lot of work in the last 2 weeks, so I've been putting in significant work because I know that there is a time crunch somewhat.
I'll
mean-
give you another example because I really believe this. I have a client who's in the cleaning business. Actually, she runs the largest post-construction cleaning company today. She started out with 3 employees. Today, she runs the largest post-construction cleaning company, and she is the 3rd largest office cleaning company in Canada. Okay. She started out with 3 employees. And I've been helping her for the past 4 years. She's paid 1 invoice. The rest of the invoices she pays are with referrals. So if she can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I really need to go. I'm supposed to be on another meeting 9 minutes ago.
Well, you
So
need to go. Well, I will see you, sir, and I'll follow up with you. Okay.
if you want a second opinion on your business plan, send it to me and we can have that discussion. We'll talk again soon. Schedule another call, day or 2.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have a good day. Bye.